OMG, Zuz, boys, girls, in betweeners, welcome back to the. I can't really call it the. Can you call it an inaugural return? Like the first return?
Should we call it like Rebirth or Legacy or whatever the
Christ,
comics are calling their whole
we
their whole rebranding of everything?
We should have figured it out way before we started this. This was very like spur of the moment. It's like, should we do this now? Yeah, I guess we should do this now. Okay, let's do this now.
So we're doing it now.
Guys, we are back. It has been, I want to say it's definitely been over a year, like 18 months, kind of?
About that, yeah.
Sort of doing the podcast thing where we talk about shit like we actually know what we're talking about. Enabled,
which we don't.
For those of you who have not heard this before, this was a feature that I used to do on my channel before it was a fighting game channel, back when it was just like a regular Let's Play channel, like every other channel on YouTube. And I thought, I can drag someone who's more popular into this to try and help me, and it didn't work.
Well, I'm not popular. Everyone else on my channel is popular.
Oh, that's right. Okay, they're carrying you. I got it. So I have with me the very good Nairman, Mr. Ryan. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well for the most part. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. So yes, what we're going to do is that if you're listening to this, well, this is actually the first episode. We're doing this as kind of a freebie. We're doing it as kind of giveaway, basically, to go back to what I was saying before, because I'm a terrible fucking host. So we stopped doing this because it wasn't really working for my channel, and that was before I changed to a fighting game channel. We said that we would continue to do like these sort of things for movies. We did it for one movie, and then we stopped after that because Nairman dragged his ass trying to see Suicide Squad.
I had things to do.
I'm leaving it at your feet. I asked you several times if you'd seen Suicide Squad, and you hadn't, so I gave up, and that was it.
All right, whatever.
But anyway, we've brought it back. We've brought it back this time for Nairman's Patreon, because Nairman is a good friend of mine. He helped me out when I first started my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel would not exist were it not for him, because he got me a whole bunch of subscribers very early on, which I really appreciate. And so I'm here back to help him out with his Patreon, because he's a nice guy. He's trying to find work. He's having trouble finding work like a lot of us are. He needs the help. So if you guys want to continue hearing these podcasts, if you enjoy what you're hearing in this little freebie here, we'll be doing these probably, every 2 weeks,
About
I
that,
guess? Yeah. About that, yeah. That's kind of what we decided last time. So if you enjoy this, please, we'll have links in the description below to head on over to his Patreon. Sign up for that. You can donate however much you want. I don't know if this will be like a threshold or whatever. Probably not. It's not that good. And you can hear this every couple of weeks. Because we get to talk about, because this might shock you, but I play games that aren't fighting games, and I don't get a chance to talk about them. So I'm very excited to be able to do this again with my good buddy, and we can talk about stuff that is fighting game related, and more importantly, stuff that's not fighting game related.
But we'll be starting with fighting game related stuff.
We'll be starting with fighting game related stuff, which was his suggestion. Don't be fooled. So with that said, with that preamble out of the way, let's jump into the first topic of the day. So the first topic of the day is going to be fighting games.
Of course it is.
So, of course, your idea. Let's not forget that. So there has been a virtual flood, a tirade, a tsunami, a whatever the fuck you want, of information for Injustice over the last few months, and
it's almost like it's coming out in 2 weeks.
Crazy. It is coming out in 2 weeks, which I'm really fucking excited for, because I didn't play. Did you play the first Injustice? You did. Okay, what did you think of it?
It was DC Mortal Kombat.
It really was.
Which there's nothing really wrong with that. It's just that it didn't really have much of an identity of its own.
Yeah, I feel like that game had some good points, but also had some really bad points. Like the thing that really drove me off playing that game was that, like, the animation, the fact that, like, women all looked like men, things like that. I didn't like the clash system very much. I felt like clashes were very anti-hype. Like, you'd get like a really big combo and it would get interrupted for a clash. So things like that. But I'm actually really, really excited to get into Injustice 2 on the ground floor. I've already picked out my main girl as being Supergirl / Power Girl, because I did like the terrible thing that no one should ever do, and I did pre-order it so I can get that skin, because I am everything that is wrong with games industry today. So, like, and what we're talking about here is that there have been 2 new characters revealed within the last 24 hours.
Well, not so much revealed because we knew Darkseid was coming, but
that's true. Yeah, that's actually very true. They've been saying that for a while, but they finally revealed how he would play at the very least.
Are you ready for Omega Beam spam?
Okay, so let's get into that. Okay, so your initial impressions. I'm assuming last time when we used to do these, I would edit them and I would have video on the screen of what we're talking about. I don't know if Nairman's going to do that. I assume you will. If not, look it up yourselves. Like Omega Beams. Like, what do you think about the character in general first? Before we get
he looks about what I expected. A much more controlled heavy fighter, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like he's no like Zangief or Kuma for Tekken War. You're going in for big hits very quickly. He's much more kind of control the zone heavy.
Yeah, and this is one of the complaints that I've heard about it coming from Maximilian, who is saying that the game itself looks to be very heavily weighted towards zoning characters, and this guy is not really doing much to alleviate that.
Let me shoot a Mega Beams behind you.
Exactly. It's like, okay, so he has his Omega Beams, which he can fire, which first of all appear to track targets, and second of all, he can fire them off one screen and have them appear behind you on the other side of the screen, which seems to me to be really fucking crazy. I've never seen... I actually lost my shit a little bit when I saw that in the trailer when I did a reaction video, and that was genuine surprise, because I've never seen a fighting game be ballsy enough to do that, and I'm not sure... As crazy as that is, I'm not sure whether that's a good idea or not.
I guess we'll see with the metagame, but then again, I guess it does make sense. I guess it does make sense that Darkseid would be the most broken character, but
I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I like the way they're taking risks with the characters and doing a lot of things that aren't conventional within fighting games.
So I'm thankful for that, because it looks like it's giving it a much more needed identity than Injustice 1 ever did.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me that if you've seen Killer Instinct, I feel like Killer Instinct has been, even though it's far from being one of the most successful fighting games of this current generation, I feel like it's been one of the most influential, because Killer Instinct really broke the mold for a lot of, in terms of like what a lot of fighting games could do, in the sense that it had like the instinct gauge for each character, which gave them a very unique kind of trait. And it had a lot of things, like, you had characters who could summon assists, you had characters that could summon minions, you had characters that could lay traps on the ground, and, like, some of these ideas are very new, some of them are just refined from other games, but it feels like a lot of games, like Street Fighter V really borrowed, like, the whole V-Trigger system is just lifted straight from the Instinct system from Killer Instinct, and now I see characters like Darkseid being able to summon the minions from Apocalypse to fight for him as well. I feel like there's a lot of games taking inspiration from that.
That kind of seems to be the case for the first one who does it and is never the one successful from it.
Yeah, that's pretty much. It's like, you had all the original ideas. It's the Microsoft way of doing things. We'll take your idea and make it better.
Yeah. And we'll make all the money off of it.
That's right, yeah. We'll give you no credit. We'll just run you into the ground and then buy you when you're worth nothing. So, yeah, like I said, I mean, obviously you can go to my channel and see what my thoughts were when I initially saw it. But, yeah, I mean, I'm very interested to see how it works. I mean, his super as well. His super is fucking crazy. His super can just track you, like, by the look of it, anywhere on the fucking screen. You can move around and it will chase you on the screen. It's kind of ridiculous.
I imagine you could just block it, though, so...
Oh, I'm sure you could just block it, but I mean, like, if that super has invincibility, if it has invincibility and it can track you, you really have no choice but to block it.
Yeah, which then leads you right open for grabs.
Yeah, so that's the part that kind of concerns me a little bit, I guess, because like with a lot of supers in fighting games, like, yes, you do have to block them all the time, but if you are in a situation where you can dodge it and punish it instead, obviously you want to go for that. And I'm not sure how well that'll work here. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see. I just hope it looks really cool, and I like the idea. I just hope it's balanced, is what I'm trying to say.
We'll be getting a few patches after day one, I'm assuming, based on balance patches, but...
Well, if the history of Mortal Kombat, if Injustice is anything to go by, then yes, because Injustice was the first fighting game to have hot patches for it, that I know of at least. So the developers could just throw out hot patches whenever they want, which is kind of like quite ubiquitous today, but back around 2011, 2012, that was still... You normally didn't get a patch until it was like several months down the road, or they released a new version entirely. So they did release a lot of hot fixes for Injustice. So that's it. So let's talk about Joker now. What are your thoughts on the Joker? Because when I saw the character and I heard the voice coming out of his mouth,
it's Richard Epcar again.
Yeah, I know you like him more than I do. What were your thoughts on that? Because initially I thought...
I agree with you here in that I like the voice and I like the look, but I don't think they mesh well.
Okay, yeah, good. Okay, yeah, it does seem.
I think he does. I think he does a better, more classical Joker than something like this.
Yeah, it definitely suited. Yeah, it did. Like because in Injustice 1, there was the very classical comic book, like, he's wearing a tuxedo and he's got like the wilted flower in his coat, his lapel and all that sort of thing, and it worked for that absolutely. But this Joker seems to be much more kind of like a weird fusion dance of Heath Ledger Joker and Jared Leto Joker.
Yeah, I think this would be a much better Jared Leto Joker, but
well, it's very Jared Leto Joker, except for maybe like he has like the long curly hair sort of thing, and that looks very Heath Ledger. But yeah, it's so that, well, that aside, I think it looks good though. I like the look of him. I like the fact that they've taken kind of influences from two different Jokers, at least in my mind. That said, not interested in
I like how
him.
they made him a bit more, I don't want to say wonky, because that's kind of a weird word to use, but I think it's the only real way to talk about with Joker, because he had the gun in the first game, but now they changed it to the bang gun, but now it actually does something that made his gas more kind of a, I don't want to say an image blocker, but I can see you using it that way. Just kind of as a disruptor, so I think that's kind of a decent term to use, because it's kind of more wonky rather than just kind of the bludgeon fighter he was in the first game.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been practicing the First Injustice the last couple of weeks just to learn the game. It's kind of tough because I'm going to be playing Supergirl, who was not in the First Injustice, so I'm still going to have to learn her from the ground up. But it seems like his moves potentially might be able to interrupt other moves, and that they may break armor or not. I'm not really sure. We saw there's a part of the clip where Superman was charging up for something, and I don't know how armored that was, but his projectile certainly broke it, so that's something interesting as well.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think of the Jason Todd special super move?
The whole Jason Todd, like, just the whole torture scene, that was interesting. It kind of it reminded me of Doctor Doom from Marvel 3, where he puts him in the blender.
Although with that, now I am totally okay with Red Hood being in the game.
it would be great. I mean, he's all like, Red Hood is all but confirmed for two different reasons. One, there was a leak back in early March where there was a book or a comic or something that came out that basically that had a reference to Red Hood being in the game, and people were like, okay, that was probably not supposed to be in there. And the other thing which is very interesting is that Ed Boon posted a poll on Twitter and said, okay, which character do you want to see in Injustice? And this was back around the same kind of time, maybe February. And he listed 4 different characters, and Red Hood won by a country mile.
Well, who was in the poll?
I can't remember. All I remember was, like, I voted for Red Hood because I want to see Red Hood in the game, even though I know you hate him.
Most of us DC fans do hate Jason Todd, so...
To be fair, I haven't had the long-term exposure to Jason Todd. My first kind of, like, the reason I liked Jason Todd was because I started reading the Red Hood and the Outlaws series after the DC Rebirth.
No, Rebirth or New 52?
Sorry, after New 52. Sorry, yes.
That's
after the New 52. I really.
Well, that was when they made him more anti-hero than more villain. So.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe that's why I don't despise him on the level that most people seem to.
Fair enough. So.
But yeah, so he's in all likelihood, I would be shocked if he's not. I mean, he probably won't be in the main game. I suspect he'll be a DLC character, but I would be absolutely stunned if he did not make the roster a second time.
Possibly, but now I'm okay with it just so I could spam the Jason Todd special on him.
Just so you can actually get Jason Todd in the chair and beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, with the crowbar.
Fair enough. All right. Well, so yeah, that's about all I've got on those characters. Now let's switch gears. Let's talk about something that you want to talk about, and I'm interested to talk about because I've chatted with you about this a little bit in the past before, and we've kind of traded barbs on a little bit, but I haven't had a chance to really sit down and talk with you about Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, is this not the greatest game that has ever been made in the history of anything?
It's hard to tell because it's only been 2 months.
But with the way people are talking about it online...
You know how online people are.
All right, so why don't you give us a rundown? What about this game? What are your feelings? What are your thoughts? Because people don't know this because we've been away from doing the podcast for so long, and if they don't follow your Twitter, then they really have no great way of engaging with you directly. So, like, what do you feel? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to cover with this game that you feel is noteworthy and worth discussing?
It's hard to because it's kind of been dissected because it's Zelda and it's such a big game that the internet's kind of already done that as a whole. I kind of just want to talk about my general feelings about it, and that.
Okay. Well, spoiler alert. We're gonna be talking about Mass Effect Andromeda later. I'm gonna bitch about
that
like crazy, so you can go nuts now.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's weird because I really do enjoy like 90 to 95% of the game a whole lot. I enjoy exploring. I enjoy just kind of fucking around with things just to see if I can do it. Like, have you seen videos of the flying machine?
I've seen like videos of like where you just like strap yourself to a rock and put a bunch of status effects on it and then go nuts.
Well, there's a power called magnesis that you can manipulate anything with magnetic power that has metal in it, but you can't stand on it and use it. The game's smart enough to figure out, okay, you probably shouldn't be able to do that. But if you but you can stack 2 mine carts on top of each other, kind of long ways like a T. Stand on top of the tower, and then magnesis the bottom one, and just fly around.
Fuck you, game. You're not my dad.
I like going around the game and just kind of fucking around and seeing what I can break. Enshrines it in the overworld. I think that's a great game for that, especially because of how kind of open you are in doing all that. But there are problems with it, and that's kind of the weird thing about it, is that so much of the game is so great, but the things that are wrong are some pretty, I don't want to say big, because they're not that gigantic to the whole experience, but the problems it has are big problems.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've watched a lot of content about Zelda, even though I've made this like very clear on my channel before. I have zero intention of buying a Switch. I think
you get the Wii U version. And
I could get the Wii U version. That's very true. I've never been interested in playing Zelda. I was just interested to hear people's thoughts about it. I have zero intention of buying a Switch because let's just go off on a slight segue, just so people kind of, because a lot of people are going to be here for you. Let's be honest. Not many people are going to be here for me, and people know how much you like Nintendo, and that's fine. And I like Nintendo as well for different reasons. But one of the things I've never liked about them is their like just solid, like laser focus on gimmicks, and I feel like the Switch in and of itself is such a huge gimmick that they're sacrificing so much for making it portable and making the controllers slide off and crap like that.
I would have to disagree on there, but
why would you disagree then? Let's go down this rabbit hole then. Why would you disagree?
Well, ultimately, because it's not fucking with the way you play a game. It's just a different way to play it on the go and at home. It's a way to play it both at home and on the way. Mind you, this is probably because it's coming off of both the Wii and the Wii U, which were massive gimmicks that hindered the console more than helped it. You can, you can talk about the technical inferiority of it, which is fine because they're definitely it's still nowhere near up to snuff to the PS4, especially the PS4 Pro. But you are gaining something by making it portable and letting you play it that way.
Well, okay, but here's the thing though: is that everyone knows like that Nintendo basically develops with Japan first and thinks about everywhere else second. That's no secret to anyone. So there's a very big handheld market in Japan, and so for them to make a console to appeal to that market makes sense. But once you get outside of Japan, you start looking at places like America or Australia or anywhere else. Mobile gaming is virtually invisible for the most part. Unless I don't know what like literal kids are doing these days. I don't know what kids in like
how do you do, fellow kids?
School here are doing. Exactly, that's it. Have I changed that much?
No, it's the children who are wrong.
Children who have changed.
Am I out of touch?
That's right. Yeah, it's the children who are out of touch. Exactly. I don't know what like 10, 11-year-old, 12s. I don't know if it's big with them, but from everything that I've seen and what I've talked about with people on the interwebs and whatnot, it doesn't seem to be that big a thing outside of Japan. So I think that it's a mistake to have that approach. I mean, go nuts. What do you think?
I think it's kind of just depends on how open you are to tablets in general, because that's basically what it is. Just one you can connect to your TV and actually display a decent amount rather than compared to current tablets of absolute crap.
Display at a decent amount with a massive frame drop. Yes, go on.
Most games don't have massive frame drops, and they have patched Zelda to where it barely does that anymore. But
have they? Okay.
I mean, hello.
Yep. Sorry, it just went dead for a second there. We're talking about Skype, obviously. So, yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I don't think it's that much of a hindrance. It's kind of weird because we think of past handhelds of Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, DS, and those were built like bricks, made at Nintendium, haha, sort of thing. But this is something I would never let a kid under like 12 hold.
You'll just see it just like chewing on the
or like just not care and just drop the thing. It's like don't touch. So that's kind of a weird thing, but I like the idea of handhelds and consoles are no longer separate. You can take your big Zelda, you can take your big eventually like Skyrim on the go with you wherever you want, and that's a good idea for me.
Okay, here's what I think is like the really pertinent question though, is that what's okay? Well, before I get to that, a leading question first. Do you know what Nintendo are projecting as the lifespan for the Switch?
Who the fuck knows with Nintendo? So
Wii U was like what, 2 years?
It felt like 2 years.
Because I mean, okay, I mean, well, let's take a global view.
For now, let's just assume the standard console life cycle of 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, yeah, 5 to 6 years is what I was going to say. Exactly. So here's the thing. Here's the question that I have: is that Nintendo obviously for like the first 3 or so years, the Wii was a license to print money. They made so much money; they're probably still living off the initial profits of the Wii. It made so much money, but in the last couple of years, that fell off precipitously because mobiles came along and stole the market of casual gamers. And my question here is that since you've made a mobile console, which really, I mean, to differentiate that from...
Sorry,
hang on, let me finish. So my question, you already see where I'm going. How long is it going to be before mobiles catch up with what the Switch can do?
I think that's kind of a question more we can aim at developers. In a sense, because let's look at the Wii example. It did really, really well early on because of the casual gamers. But the thing is, they realized developers, third party, besides maybe like Sega, found that they only bought Nintendo games, so they completely just dropped it because, well, we're not making money off of this because they're only buying Nintendo games, so who gives a shit? So it was up to Nintendo to completely support it. Now, here's the interesting thing, though. Mobile markets do make a lot of money, but because they're like a free to 99 cents and they price gouge you in microtransactions.
Yes.
But that means mobile has a very, very, very bad rep with most tech-savvy people. Like, most people I know don't mobile game because it's a wasteland of garbage.
That's true, but when you talk about tech-savvy people, they don't have the kind of market overlap with people who would define themselves as casual gamers.
Yes, but that also means that most people I know who are interested in games on the go aren't going to be mobile gaming because it's a wasteland of garbage. So they're...
Yes, but my point is that group of people is much smaller than the people who would identify themselves as casual gamers, and that's going to be always going to be the audience that Nintendo is going to be chasing. Even though they're pledging it's going to be different this time around. We're sorry,
well, they've been doing that since they've been doing that since the Wii. But ultimately, ultimately, you can't get the casuals unless you get an install base going in the first place, which I think is what they're trying to do first and foremost. Once that gets going, we can start adding, because I mean they just added Puyo Puyo Tetris, which is, puzzle games are the bread and butter of mobile. So you can go after them once you get an install base and say, hey, look at all these people playing the Switch. If you get it and you get your Puyo Puyo Tetris, you too can play with your friends on the go and all this instead of paying $5 to continue playing your crappy mobile game.
And then you'll have the embarrassment of trying to explain to them what a game called Puyo Puyo Tetris actually is.
That too, but I'm just saying that I don't think it's the same kind of market, but Nintendo can get the mobile market because even for people who aren't very tech savvy, mobile gaming has a very bad reputation all around. So I think I don't
necessarily know about that.
I think that if they play their cards right, they can get that market with them.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, if nothing else, Pokemon Go proved that you can have a terrible fucking game that has no depth to it whatsoever and have people lose their shit over it collectively still.
Well, that's Nintendo nostalgia for you more so than anything, but trust me, that game that did not make money because it was they could make it, Virtual Mon 3D, whatever, and it would not have done anywhere near as well. It only did well because it was Pokemon.
Just to go back to that for a second, like just to jump in the Wayback Machine, a year ago, 12 months ago, was it? Whatever. When it came out, it was so funny when that came out, and Nintendo stock went way up for about a day, and then news outlets suddenly went, "Wait, did Nintendo actually own Pokemon? Oh, they don't. Oh, and it just went straight back down again."
Yes, Nintendo does not actually own Pokemon. Game Freak does.
Exactly. So that was funny. All right. Well, probably before we go back to Zelda where we originally started, I suppose one of the other question was that because I don't follow the Switch per se as closely as I do other things, largely because it's just not really part of the internet circles of which I travel. How is Nintendo going with trying to lure back third-party developers? Because they lost pretty much all of them with the between the Wii and the Wii U, and from what I've seen of the Switch, there are third-party games on there, but they're either ports like Skyrim of games that are like 4 or 5 years old now, or things like Street Fighter 2 Hyper, whatever the fuck edition it is, which is
Street Fighter 2 again.
Which is effectively just like a re-release, or that's a zero-effort game on Capcom's part, really, let's be honest.
The best I can think of is that, again, it kind of goes to the no gimmicks, quote-unquote, route in terms of controllers, which was the biggest problem with the Wii and the Wii U. Why should we spend a bunch of time trying to develop for these new controllers that we know aren't going to sell as well because Nintendo system, so why bother doing it at all? I think this is going to be from a few technical issues aside, a very easy console to just say, okay, we made such and such game. I don't know, let's just use a recent one. I'm just looking at my list, Persona 5. Let's say we make Persona 5, make a few technical...
because that was a PS3
game. Maybe make a technical downgrade here and there. Make it work. We could just then put it on the Wii U. I mean, not on the Wii U, the NS, because we don't have any clunky control to try and mess around with. We could much more easily port it, which was always Nintendo's problem with the last two systems. You can never get any ports on it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I think that's going to help it more than people think, but that's just my opinion. We'll have to. It's only been out for 2 months, so we'll have to see.
Well, it's been selling extremely well in those 2 months. I saw the latest sales figures for it, and it is outselling the PS4 pretty much week on week.
Well, again, that's fancy new shiny thing. So
it is, but I mean, like the PS4 is like the biggest console in the world right now, and that's again no secret. So the fact that it's been outselling it like every single week, by comparatively, it's been outselling it by a reasonable margin. Unless those sales drop off quite precipitously, which they could, but if they don't, it's going to have a pretty good install.
Yeah, so it's far too early for me to tell. That's just what I'm reading into it as far as going forward goes. Yeah. We'll probably get a much clearer view once E3 hits, because all we've got is just basically news for Nintendo stuff going through like June and July.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, fair enough. All right. Let's go back to Zelda then. So, with that, so you're enjoying breaking the game. Obviously, like people are just speedrunning the shit out of it. I think it's down to like 2 hours now.
No, it's less than an hour if you just want to go straight to Ganon.
People have already figured out how to break it that much. So I mean, I guess the thing that I find interesting about it is that from watching the coverage of it when it came out, people were the biggest thing I think people were talking about was that previous Zelda games, and I'm going at what they said because I've never actually played a Zelda game in my life. Previous Zelda games were all about what you couldn't do, whereas this game is about what you can do instead. So is that something which really appeals to you, or do you feel that is like moving away from like the formula of what Zelda is too much?
I don't mind it. I don't think that's quite accurate. I think it's more of a 3D Zeldas are much more structured rather than limit. Because there are side quests in other 3D Zeldas, Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, what have you. But you're normally set along a path in what you're supposed to be doing. So it's a very different take. A lot of people, including myself, think it's kind of more like not like a real remake, but a spiritual remake of the first Zelda game where you're just plunked into the world, go nuts.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Okay, well, I suppose the only really remaining question is that let's put you on the spot here. Like, where does it sit on your list of favorite Zeldas?
Probably number 3 for now, but
number 3. So what are the 2 Zeldas which are better than this, just so that everyone listening to this can know that you've told them what is better and that
my personal opinions are just Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, but like I said, it's been a little less than 2 months, so maybe in a year or so we can look back and say, okay, this is definitely up there. So maybe it'll leapfrog something.
Yeah. Is it going to get any DLC or anything?
Yes, it is.
This is like. Okay, so what's that going to be in the form of? Because I'm curious.
It's going to get some new equipment. It's going to get a hard mode, and it's going to get a new dungeon.
So
not too much, but it's something.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Last question as well. What's your opinion on weapon breakage?
It's fine. It's really only a problem early game when all of your weapons suck. Because weapon breaking is actually tiered to the strength of the weapon.
Okay.
So like your pitiful 4 damage sword is going to break a lot faster than your 40 damage Royal Claymore.
Yeah, but what about so you don't feel bad when you have like a really good weapon and it finally breaks?
No, because you can always find more.
Okay,
As long as you're looking around reasonably enough, you are going to be finding tons of stuff to replace it with.
Yeah, I don't think there's an issue with like the number of weapons you can find. I just like everyone was really complaining about that when it first came out. It's like, oh my god, I can't use my sweet ass sword here because it's gonna break. Now I have to pick up a stick and it's gonna break faster. And
I think they were over exaggerating the beginning of the game.
All right. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's move on.
Moving back to one of your topics. Well, I guess we're going to be moving back to your topic of.
It's actually kind of funny because we agreed to not do like back and forth, but we. That's neither here nor there. Right. I swear to God, we're rusty. We haven't done this in like a year and a half. Marvel Infinite finally got its
Marvel baby
reveal. Well, not reveal. It's got like we finally got like some new news because we hadn't heard anything about this game since December last year. And people were worried that it was going to be delayed or it had been cancelled or whatever. And then finally now, they come out and release 8 characters at once. And again, I made a reaction video on this. I made a breakdown when it first leaked.
And it's almost entirely everyone who we expected.
Basically what I said is that it is the safest list they could have chosen. They couldn't have chosen safer characters to put on this list. So it's basically every character from either the Avengers or from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
On the Marvel side and on the Capcom side, you get Chun-Li.
Well, as far as Marvel goes, it's because they're all in the MCU. So
yeah, well, like you get Chun-Li, who's in every Marvel game.
Chris,
in every Marvel game, every Street Fighter
Resident
game.
Evil / Chris Redfield. So
yeah, you get roided out Chris, which is kind of funny. I thought because like spoil. I'm gonna give a spoiler here because it's been out for a few months, so you should have finished by now. Chris does appear in the end of Resident Evil 7, but it's a very different Chris. It's kind of like a rebooted Chris. Different voice, different look, different everything.
Quick question. What do you feel about the I'm Not a Hero DLC getting delayed?
I'm not really too upset about that. I mean, it's free, so
Fair
I'm not
enough.
complaining.
Okay, moving back to Marvel.
Yeah, moving back to Marvel, baby. So it's funny to me that they've gone with that. It's very much the same as what happened with like DMC reboot Dante, like Dante, where they overlooked Dante to put like Devil May Cry 3 Dante in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, it's just one of those. I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, it's everyone who I expected. Moving on. Tell me when something new actually shows up.
Pretty much. So and they had Strata Hero, who's again has been in every Marvel game, so that's not surprisable either. So yeah, I suppose there's not really much to say because it's basically this is just Marvel is obviously gone to Capcom and said, okay, we got Infinity War coming out this year,
Captain Marvel coming out next year,
Guardians of the Galaxy 2 we got Captain Marvel coming out next year. We got Guardians of the Galaxy coming out this year. These are the characters we want in the game.
Yeah, that's basically what I expected with this game. It's like let's put as many people from the MCU as we possibly can, either from coming out movies or soon to be coming out movies, so we can advertise the shit out of them.
Yeah. I suppose the only thing that's really interesting about it is that it does really confirm the rumors that were flying around very early after the initial announcement that the X-Men weren't going to be in it, or if they were going to be in it, they're going to be basically DLC. Like the current rumor that I've heard is that they have worked out a deal with Fox to have mutants in the game, but they will all be DLC. They will not be part of the initial roster.
So not even Wolverine.
Not even. Well, I mean, if they're going to announce Wolverine, they would have done it right off the bat. I mean, he's the Ryu of the Marvel universe.
This is just so petty on Marvel's side. And honestly, well, as a kind of superhero person, I'm just getting very sick of it. But whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not happy about it because obviously, I want my Gambit in there. I want my X-23. I want Venom in there. I want all these characters that either belong to Fox or Sony. I'm not really interested about the ones that actually belong to Marvel.
And I hope Deadpool makes it back in, but who knows because of Fox.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of up in the air. Like I said, it is only a rumor at this stage. There is no, confirmation to it. There's just maybe no mutants or Spider-Man there at all.
I think Spider-Man has to be there just because he's the Marvel, quote-unquote, most popular character, so.
Obviously, he does have that overlap with the MCU now, but, I'm not sure. I have no idea, contractually, how far that goes.
As far as the MCU or gaming?
Well, as far as the MCU and gaming, I mean,
Marvel owns all their characters as far as gaming goes, so they can use whoever they want in any game. So.
Well, then it is. Well, okay. Well, I mean, this is all just conjecture. I mean, bottom line is that we both want these characters to appear in the game. We just don't know if they will, and if they don't, then it is pretty much being just petty on my part.
Which is why they canceled all their Fantastic Four books.
No, they've canceled Fantastic Four because.
Well, yes, but that was the primary reason was that they wanted the rights back from Fox. Probably not because they wanted the Fantastic Four back, but because they wanted Doctor Doom back.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've never liked the Fantastic Four. I don't find them interesting as.
Anyway, back to Marvel Infinite.
Back to well, there's not really much.
But what did you think of the two most generic villains and fusing together at the fusion dance?
That's right, fusion.
I am Ultron Sigma. I can't tell anything different from neither of you.
I must
Rest fight. I mean, just from a story mode trailer, it's like it seems very serviceable, but not interesting in the slightest.
What's really funny about that was it was just a shitty effect as well. It was just two JPEGs overlapping, converging on each other when they did it in the trailer. I couldn't believe it was such a bad effect.
Well, no, the whole cutscene looked really bad. It's like I saw clips of the game in action because they actually did gameplay eventually, but it's like, why does the gameplay look so much better than the pre-rendered cutscene?
It's very confusing, and the funny part is that trailer came out about a week after the trailer for the Shadow Alliance's 5 had come out for Injustice.
Yeah, I know they're very different styles, but my god, Injustice 2 looks so much better visually.
It does, which is crazy because I'm a Capcom fanboy. I will always love Capcom fighting games more than any other franchise, but I can't look at those two trailers next to each other and not go, Injustice looks better.
Yeah.
So I think that was terrible timing on Capcom's part. If they didn't know that was coming out, which they probably didn't, having seen that it came out, I would have, if it was me, I would have waited a month before I put my trailer out.
Or wait until E3 or something.
Or wait until E3, yeah. Wait for there to be a chance to build up some hype, then just drop it a week later, rather unceremoniously, and go, here's our trailer. It's basically the same thing, but not as good.
Yeah, because I was like, wait, they announced Marvel stuff? It's like I almost kind of forgot that game even existed for a while.
I'm convinced that the Capcom just hate money and they don't realize it.
Potentially.
So there. So yeah, that's my kind of take on Marvel Infinite. There's some interesting use when they brought out the gameplay trailer for it. There's some very interesting applications of the Infinity Gems, like the Space Gem actually locks a component inside a cube and they can't move outside the cube, so it limits their movement quite significantly. So some interesting stuff there, which I'm curious to see how they go with it. It looks like it's going to play a lot like Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and there's only 2 characters and there's no assists. You can just tag in and out at pretty much any time.
So a much more simplified Marvel versus Capcom.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I like Street Fighter.
You're like one of 2 people.
So I got no issue with that. That's right. There's like 5 people in the world who still like that game. And I only like it because Jury was top tier in that game.
I mean, it's one of those I need to wait to see more, because if it's just another Marvel vs. Capcom game with very minor tweaks, they'll be like, okay, so knowing Capcom, there will be an Ultimate Edition later, and, har har har, so...
No, well, they've sworn off that. They've and I've told you this before.
Yes, I just wouldn't put it against Marvel to demand that. So.
They've categorically said there won't be a Super Street Fighter 5, there won't be an Ultra Street Fighter 5.
But they never said that about Marvel.
I'm assuming they will carry that logic. Well, the thing is that there's probably more money to be made by incrementally releasing characters over as a drip feed over time than just doing one dump of several characters at once in a big update.
I guess we'll have to see, but ultimately, it looks fine. I'm not hyped about it because I haven't seen anything really new yet.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm not really feeling the hype for it just yet. I mean, I will, it doesn't matter. They could release it as it is right now, and I would still buy it because I want to play it on the channel and enjoy it and show it off to people. But I'm not excited about it because none of the characters that have been released so far really interest me. I've got no interest in Ryu. There's no character in there. I need to see a character which is going to make me go, step and take notice.
Yeah. I guess they'll probably be saving that for E3 or EVO or something.
Yeah, and that's going to be a character like Gambit or Dante or Wesker, or Spider-Man or Venom or anything.
Or fuck your shit, Virgil.
Yeah, we need. I need more power.
Let's talk about Ultimate Marvel 3's metagame the better.
Exactly, yes. All right. Let's switch gears. We still got a few topics to get through here. And we're already 40 minutes in, so this is going to be a long podcast. Hooray! Because we actually had like a lot of short ones in the past. Anyway, Mario Kart 8. So is this not the same game which was on Wii U?
Basically, yes.
Basically, yes. Okay, cool. Moving on.
Except now it has an actual battle mode.
It has an actual battle mode.
Yes. The Wii U Mario Kart 8 technically had a battle mode, but it was so pissed for that people basically ignored it completely because it was that bad.
Mario Kart, I've like the best description I've ever heard of Mario Kart is the fastest way to lose friends.
No, that's Mario. That's Mario Party.
That's okay. Second fastest.
I mean, if like a lot of people who didn't get a Wii U because it was the Wii U, this is a good.
I've got a Wii U.
I said most people, not everyone. But I mean, if you're coming into the Switch after not really owning a Wii U or playing it all that much, this is a good buy because it's a full Mario Kart game plus all the DLC added in, plus a little bit even more. So it's a good view for that. Now, as someone who played it a lot on the Wii U, I'm not entirely sure if it's a day one buy or anything like that because it is kind of feeling like it's double dipping.
Is it full price?
It's Nintendo. What did you expect?
It's Nintendo. They don't need a discount. All our games are fantastic. We should be honored to buy them at full price.
So I mean, since most people are probably coming into the Switch not having played a Wii U, it's a very good buy. It's just a question of if you played it before, did you like it enough to warrant buying it again so you can have it on the go?
As someone who owns Mario Kart 8 on this Wii U, it really feels like the kind of game that you have to be able to play with friends. It's not something you really want to play by yourself. Or online.
So that's where the potential good part of being able to take it on the go goes.
Yeah, and I noticed that this actually does play into the Nintendo marketing strategy of, it is that they want their games to be social, and they want them to be communal, but this is one instance where I really feel that is true, that it's a game that you want to play with friends, you don't want to just play it by yourself or online. It's not the same experience.
Yeah, so it's one of those, it's a bit of an iffy area if you have played it before, but if you're new to it, it's a fantastic buy, so.
Yeah, it's just a question of the value proposition of what you're saying. Yeah, alright. Cool. So is there anything else you want to talk about that?
No, that was kind of our short topic, if only because it was topical because it just came out today. So, or I guess technically yesterday for you, but whatever.
All right. So this is about where I get to bitch now because for anyone who knows me from before I was doing fighting games on the channel all the time, my favorite single player game of all time, and this still remains correct, is the
if I may quote our Brain Scratch Cobbs' playthrough of it, what's wrong with your face?
Her face is tired, okay?
You call that tired?
Okay, let me finish my intro. We'll get to that. All right, so I doubt there were many people on Earth, on this planet, who were looking forward to Andromeda more than I was, because those three games were just an amazing, incredibly well-written, visceral experience that was so incredibly immersive and really made you feel like you're... I've never played a game up until when I played Mass Effect 3 and I was doing the end of it. I'd never played a game where I felt like I was afraid for my life, that I was afraid to die. Even though I knew that if I died, I'd just respawn at the start of the level, or the start of the area. That I just wanted to get through it without dying because I felt that was like of such great importance because it would serve the story that much better than Mass Effect 3, and that was the kind of personal investment I had in it. And going into Mass Effect Andromeda, I'm the kind of guy... If I love something, I can suspend my disbelief all day. I can look past a lot of shit if I like something. I'm a guy who will defend the Street Fighter movie. The one with Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's shit, but I like it. I'll defend Spider-Man 3. It's shit, but I like it. Mass Effect Andromeda is just shit. It's just shit, and that's it.
This game is shit. It's fucking shit.
Shit.
Aside from the technical falling apart that it is, what else made you really annoyed at it?
Well, okay. Before I get into that, for people who haven't been following you on the old Break Scratch channel, which they should be obviously because they wouldn't be listening to us otherwise. How far have you guys gotten through that?
We are at the saving the Solarian team from Saren Space. So we're I think we're
from Saren. You mean what the fuck? It wasn't Saren. That was
we're playing Mass Effect 1.
Oh, Mass Effect 1? Okay, I thought you were saying
No.
Mass Effect Andromeda. Okay. Okay, fine. Alright, well, we just talk about this then as if they've completed it, because they've either completed it by now or they don't care, or they've heard about it anyway. So what about it pisses me off, what you're asking?
Yeah.
Well, the funny part is that I didn't really have... I played it day one, I played it the second it downloaded. So, I didn't really have... I already heard the pre-release people who'd played it, from the Origin download bullshit, whatever it is, if you play the first 10 hours and kind of fuckery, that the facial animations were really bad and whatnot. And to be honest, that didn't really bother me that much, because even though they are most definitely wonky, I was prepared to look past that, and I made a female rider, I don't know what you'd call it, like a Ferrider, I guess, that I thought looked serviceable and didn't look really weird when she talked and things like that. But what really bugs me about that game, and we'll be here for hours if we cover all of it, here's the core issue. Before we get into anything else, the core issue of this game is that I feel like when they did Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, it was very much a learning experience for BioWare, because they wanted to make this game which was very large in scope, that had a lot of branching paths, that really allowed the player to feel like they were in control of their own story and things like that, and they did achieve that. But it created a lot of problems along the way that they had to either backpedal on, or change, or not necessarily really address. Things like when Mass Effect 2 finished, they said that, okay, if your character dies at the end of Mass Effect 2, it's going to be a completely different game Mass Effect 3. You won't be playing Shepard, you'll be playing someone else. They had to backpedal on that, because it's just impossible to make a game based around a new fucking character
who may or may not actually be there.
Yeah, exactly, and things like that, and they had a lot of problems with the ending of the Neapolitan version of, like, did you want the red ending, the green ending, or the blue ending, sort of thing, things like that. And so the Mass Effect fan base is very passionate, because they are very good games. So I feel like going into this, they wanted to really avoid that as much as possible, and just to make their life easier, I suppose, which is a fairly not irrational urge to have. I'm not saying it's the right urge to have, but it's certainly not irrational. And so when they made Andromeda, it's very much a game that, instead of giving you those branching paths and giving you those options to affect the story how you want, it gives you the illusion that you have the options to change the story, when in actuality, any choice you make will lead to the same outcome.
I'm trying to think of games that have done it very similarly, but
Persona 5.
No, you can choose your waifu.
You get plenty of choices in Persona 5, but every choice is either yes, or super yes.
No, that's Skyward Sword.
Fine. Okay, well, we'll say Skyward Sword then. Fine. So that's my biggest issue with the game. Before we talk about anything else, that's my real fucking problem, because I felt like it just, after like the first 10 or 20 hours, it felt like, and I played that game for... and we'll get to... Actually, I'll talk about that later. I played that game for 82 hours. That was my final playthrough time. So I played the balls out of that game. It felt like that after the first 10 or 20 hours, I realized that, like, it doesn't fucking matter what I pick here, because it's really going to have no change in the outcome. Like, there's really no option in the game. Like, for example, in the first three Mass Effects, you had the option of doing Renegade or Paragon Answers, and they took that out of Andromeda. And I've always said, removing a feature from a game is not a feature. You can't take away something and say, there, we improved it. You have to replace it with something else if you're going to do that, and they didn't. The conversation wheel is the same as it's ever been. They added some icons, which are fairly nonsensical, if you ask me, of what
it essentially makes conversation in general completely pointless.
It does. Like, there's a bunch of, like, different icons for each answer to try and show you what intonation you're going to have when you deliver it. But it really feels like no matter what answer you give, it's just going to be the happy-go-lucky response, because that's how a writer plays out. Like, Ryder is a very positive, very optimistic character, and it's very difficult to even intentionally play them as anything otherwise.
That does seem very silly.
It really does. It really damages how the game feels, in my opinion, because I don't like to play the game that way. When I played Shepard, as someone who was there to save the galaxy, but would do it at any cost. If Shepard had to kill a bunch of people to stop the Reapers, that's what has to happen. If I had to crash a fucking Mass Effect relay into a planet, which I did in the DLC, killing potentially millions of people, I did that to stop the Reapers.
All for the greater good.
So
greater good.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And so that I love that I was able to have that feeling of, like, that's my Shepard. That's the one that I have that no one else has. my write-out, I feel like it's the same fucking writer everyone else has.
From what I also understand that the plot, from what I also understand from what I've heard is that the plot really doesn't do anything.
The plot is very derivative. We're going to go into spoiler territory here, so if you still want to play this game for some god unknown reason, you might want to skip ahead a little bit. The plot is extremely derivative of previous Mass Effect games in the sense of the fact that it's like, oh, it's a big kind of nebulous enemy who wants to not necessarily kill you, but wants to enslave you and incorporate them into themselves. So in Mass Effect 2, the big reveal is that the Reapers are trying to not necessarily kill off life. They want to kill it off, but they also want to catalog it and preserve it as a Reaper into itself. They're actually building.
So they're the Borg
to be like the. Yeah, they are basically the Borg, and so that was the idea that they were rendering people down into a goo and pumping it into a human-shaped Reaper to make it to like be their way of cataloging you, I suppose, of cataloging a race to not wipe it out, but to basically remove it from the equation and keep it separate. And that's so, like a whole like tangent. That was like
so they're Brainiac Borgs.
They kind of are, yeah. And in Mass Effect Andromeda, the enemy in that game basically doesn't want to kill you. They want to basically enslave you and transform them into their own shock troops. They just they put you through some kind of weird indoctrination process, which isn't even explained. It just makes people compliant with the whole process. And they put you in a chamber. They shoot you up with some goo, and you step out as a really weird looking alien. And that's it. So that's the Ket, and so that to me felt very similar to what the Reapers were trying to do, just on a smaller kind of macro versus micro scale. So that's like the other problem. And from what I've read about the game since its release, essentially this game was not handled by the core BioWare team. It was passed off to BioWare Montreal.
And I also hear they outsourced a lot of the technical stuff to other parties that clearly did not do a good job.
That's right, yes. So the main game was handled by them, but there was also outsourcing and things
like that. Which is
that
never a good sign.
They use that's right. They use software to generate the facial animations instead of actually doing them by hand, which is why everyone looks so wonky when they talk. And so it kind of like it makes a person believe, even if it may or may not be the case, that they really didn't give. They were just believing their own hype too much. They go, okay, Mass Effect's going to be a massive success no matter what we do, so let's just give it to the B team to develop this. They can knock it out, and we can focus on whatever we're going to do next.
Yeah, I can definitely get that understanding.
That's my question. Yeah, that's the question that I still have. Is that it's like if Mass Effect, which is is undoubtedly BioWare's biggest franchise that they own. There's nothing else that they've made which has been more successful than that franchise. If they gave that to their B team, what the fuck were they working on that was so important to require like the A team's full attention?
No clue. Maybe we'll see at E3. It's Andromeda 2.
Exactly. Yes. they may be doing a Call of Duty. They may be rotating between teams so they can knock one out each year. Who fucking knows? That may be the case. I suppose the only positive to come out of this is that since the game got like absolutely just destroyed, it got slaughtered on release. I mean, it got a lot of scores. When I say it got slaughtered, I mean it was still getting like 75%, which is, I think, a fair score. I think I would probably give it 65 to 70%.
Yeah, I think the big problem is that it got crushed in the sales because it came out between a bunch of other high-profile releases that were a lot better.
And that may be entirely so. It got sandwiched. Yeah, it got released around the time of both
Horizon
Wild and of Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a fantastic fucking game.
Yes, and then a couple weeks after Persona 5 came out. So
exactly. I suppose the only positive to come out of that is that we haven't heard a single thing from BioWare about DLC for the game. So that leaves me to assume, and this is purely my assumption, that they probably already had the DLC either cooked and ready to go, or maybe it was close to, they've been developing it during the polishing phase and whatnot, and the part where the developers aren't really needed for a game's release. They've been developing the DLC there, and since the whole negative reception that it had, they've gone back and they're now reworking on it. That's kind of my hope, that they've gone, okay, we need to lift our fucking game if we're going to try and sell you this DLC we've been working on.
Yes, but we'll have to see with that, because as you said, they've been completely silent.
They have been completely silent, but I mean, it was a similar situation with the ending of Mass Effect 3, that got a lot of negative press as well, and to their credit, BioWare went, okay, we'll rework this and re-release it, and 2 or 3 months later, they did re-release it, and I love Mass Effect 3 so much, I didn't really have a problem with the ending, but the new ending that they put out was also good, so there you go. That's
looking forward to the inevitable Andromeda too.
Well, to give you a comparison, when I finished Mass Effect 2 the first time around, I was actually depressed after I finished Mass Effect 2 because I realized it would be at least 2 years before I got to play Mass Effect 3. I was like, holy shit, I'm going to have to wait 2 fucking years before I get to play another game.
And now you're depressed for very different reasons.
That's right. Now I finished Mass Effect Andromeda, I'm like, I've never been more let down by playing a game my entire life. And the other thing is that, okay, here's like the other thing, is that like you're supposed to be exploring, you're supposed to be colonizing all these worlds, and you get 5 worlds within the game that you go out and you do side quests, you do task people, you clear out bases. All these things raise the viability of the planet for colonization. And so me being the fanboy that I am, I said, I'm going to 100% the shit out of this. I 100%ed every planet, all 5 of them. Not only did I not get an achievement for that, which is kind of annoying, but even though I'm not an achievement hunter, I don't care. The thing is that has no bearing on the ending of the game whatsoever. You can just ignore those fucking planets and it won't matter. Which is just
what's the point of having it at all?
Exactly. That's the real question. What's the fucking point? It doesn't actually add anything to the game. It's just there as busy work. So, I mean, granted, it's optional busy work. I didn't have to do that, but I'd like to be rewarded for the fact that I did. The only thing that really affects the ending of the game, from what I read about it, is there's basically a couple of key choices that you can make during the game that will result in certain characters showing up at the end to help you with the final battle. That's it. So the only variable at all in the story at all, doesn't matter whether you're good, whether you're bad, whether you colonize, whether you don't, is whether you save a Solarian or some Turians, or a Solarian or some Krogan, I should say, or there's a member of the Ket who wants to basically just not show up to the final battle because he wants to fuck up things for his boss.
Okay.
And that's it. So in the sense of programming, like mapping out the final structure of the game, it plays out the exact same way, just some different people might show up during the
Well, that's stupid.
Pretty much. So that's it. That's Andromeda. So bitterly disappointed, really hoping against hope that the DLC will... I'm really hoping that they are furiously working to polish that DLC and rework it and rebuild it and make it better, because Mass Effect has had some really good DLC in the past. Mass Effect 3 especially has what I would define as the best DLC of any game I've ever played. So there's still a chance to try and salvage this game. It's just BioWare will just have to pull off something really fucking special to do it.
So we'll see at E3 then, potentially.
That's it, yeah, pretty much. All right, and let's go on to our final topic of the day, because it's been a fucking hour since we started this.
Hooray!
Hey, oh my god, I'm mentally exhausted now. I've lost all my energy. I'm gonna start talking like.
So you're saying you have no energy to give to Goku for the Spirit Bomb?
Let's talk about Dragon Ball Super, because this was coming out when we did the podcast originally, and we didn't get to talk about it that much because even though we are both,
it was just going over the movies which we'd already seen with significantly worse animation and pacing.
Exactly, yes. There's nothing to really talk about. Whereas now there's a great deal to talk about, and just so people were aware, I haven't seen the first 80 or so episodes of Dragon Ball Super. I came to Dragon Ball Super at the end of the Goku Black / Future Trunks arc, because I thought the idea of Goku Black was at least interesting enough to check out, because up until then, from what I'd seen, it hadn't really impressed me with the fact that it has some really bad animation and things like that. And so I've come in after, like, at the end of that arc and onwards, I've seen, and I gotta say, like, my first question that I put out on Twitter after watching several episodes of it was, like, did someone make a wish on the Dragon Balls to make Goku retarded? Because I'm not against the idea that he's retarded. I just like to know if someone.
No, he's just somehow even more stupid. to quote Term clear from the questions part of that one Simpsons episode, is Homer getting stupider? Yes, he is.
It does seem like Goku is just fucking dumb. Like, he's always had, obviously, as a character, he's always had that childlike optimism about him, which is fine. But he does things in Dragon Ball Super which are just, like, there's no question, there's no discussion. He just does things that are just
He brings up the Universal Tournament to Super God and causes, potentially, which we know is not going to happen because they're not going to paint him out to actually be the bad guy, the destruction of 7 universes.
Exactly.
It's
literally countless lives will be erased from existence because Goku likes to fight.
Not to mention that time in the one of the smaller arcs where he hired a hitman to fight himself because he wanted to fight.
To fight himself, exactly, and almost died as a result. And it's other things like, yeah, like he's trying to discuss with Vegeta why he should participate in the tournament, and Vegeta is doing the mature thing
because his Bulma's pregnant and past her due date.
Vegeta, and you say, like, my wife's pregnant, I really shouldn't do that, and he's like, well, why not? I was dead while Chi-Chi was having children.
And so it literally proves that every other man in the series is a better father than Goku.
Exactly. It's just why. I mean, the only thing I can really assume is that the writers are trying to desperately recapture what made the original Dragon Ball series popular, that when Goku actually was a kid, and they're trying to tie a lot of it back to that by having a lot of these characters that were in Dragon Ball Z but were in the original Dragon Ball cropping up again. I feel like they're trying to really mine that nostalgia in this new series.
Which is funny because they specifically went out of their way to make GT not canon, which is the one where they literally made Goku a kid again.
Exactly, and you're also being the series that you're the only person who actually likes that. But yeah, so I just can't. I really don't like Dragon Ball Super at all because there's just a lot of incredibly questionable decisions that they've made. Like, for example, going back to the Goku Black story, like Vegeta has been the person ever since his character was introduced. Vegeta has wanted nothing more than to beat Goku and to first kill Goku, but then just beat Goku. And he's never been able to do it because the one thing that is completely immutable throughout Dragon Ball that will never change no matter what is that Goku is stronger than Vegeta, and it will never change. And this could have been the one time in the story where Vegeta could have beaten Goku and killed Goku and gotten that closure for his character, and it would have made a lot of sense. It would have been cathartic. It would have really meshed. It would have just come together really nicely with the way this character has been developed through the entire series. But fuck it, let's just have Trunks kill him instead.
To quote the Team 4 StarCraft, same different universe, same not different universe, different timeline, same result, huh, best buddy?
It's just like, but why? It was they set it up themselves so perfectly, and then they trip at the fucking finish line by having Trunks. Like Trunks knew how to do the Spirit Bomb, which I don't even fucking understand how he knew to do that. It just turns into a fucking sword, and just out of nowhere being like a Super Saiyan 2 who shouldn't even be able to fucking compete. Like, shouldn't even be able to, like, walk on the same ground that this guy does in terms of power level, just murder the shit.
Well, that's the other big problem with the series is fuck power levels. Fuck Super Saiyans, and fuck you.
It really is a series about fuck power levels. Like, I was coming on Twitter the other day. It's like, I haven't seen the newest episode. I've seen the one before that where Goku and 17 fight for the first time ever. And, like, 17 is a quote-unquote android, even though he's really a cyborg. We call them androids. Well, good for you. You're wrong. Like when 17 was originally introduced as a character, he was basically stronger than the Super Saiyan, which is fine. He was stronger than the Vegeta. Like, well, actually 18 was stronger than Vegeta, but you get the idea. Like that was like the baseline for the android's power level. Being the fact that like they are their power is derived from their mechanical components, they shouldn't really be able to get stronger
or much stronger anyway, but
without getting much stronger without getting upgrades. And yet, when 17 finally fights Goku like kicks up to Super Saiyan Blue, and he's able to stay on par with Goku while they both admit they were holding back.
He's been training off screen, don't you know?
He's been training. What was he? Was he doing P90X?
I have no fucking idea. They just say he's been training.
Has he doing like the caveman diet? I mean, what the fuck?
I don't fucking get it either. At least it made some sense with Krillin beating Gohan.
Well, yeah, I mean, they tried to sort of explain that the Krillin was being very, very tactical and whatnot, and trying to outwit.
Because he's following rules, and Gohan has never been in the tournament ever, so he doesn't know how to fight by rules.
Exactly, yeah. So I can believe that a little bit more, at least. But like, no, just a character is just suddenly several hundred times stronger because he's been quote unquote training. Mm-hmm. And a human, no less. Well, and humans in Dragon Ball mythos have never been able to compete with Saiyans on any level. So unless you go back all the way back to the original Dragon Ball. So, well, Dragon Ball Z onwards, I would say then.
Yeah, because Tien does beat Goku once, but just once.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that was obviously a very long time ago. So it boggles my fucking mind just what the hell they're trying to do with this series, and like so many of the enemies that they encounter are just fucking goofy looking. Like, they're fighting werewolves, or they're fighting some guy with a giant mustache, or fucking whatever. I mean, it's just... What is the logic
So what do you think about female Broly?
Does she make an appearance?
No, she hasn't appeared. She hasn't appeared yet.
I haven't seen it. She hasn't appeared yet. Yeah, Rule 63 Broly, which was teased it was teased a few months ago. Actually, we haven't seen her since. She's supposed to be appearing in the Universe tournament. Also tournaments, like lots and lots and lots of tournaments in this series.
You want a tournament? I want a tournament.
Yeah. We need to have a tournament to decide who will be appearing in the next tournament. It'll happen. Don't worry. Female Broly, like it's kind of weird.
This is technically our first female Super Saiyan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. It's been a long time coming. So I'm totally fine with that. It's just why like I just prefer it if she didn't like shift into like the super like Broly muscular weird look. That's all, I guess. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on that.
So let me guess, you're not a fan of Super Saiyan Blue?
I've never been a fan. I'm more of a fan of Super Saiyan Blue than I am Super Saiyan Rose. I never even fucking explained that. That was the other thing that really bothered me about that was like so many things with Goku Black. I mean, there's literally a part where Vegeta is fighting Goku Black, and Goku Black like tears a hole open in the universe. Smoke pours out of it, and that smoke turns into Goku Black clones. Vegeta goes, "How'd you do that?" And Goku Black goes, "I don't know."
So what you're saying? So the entire Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks versus Evil Boo.
Even that makes more sense because they were kids and they just developed goofy attacks. Like I can kind of understand that, but he literally just goes, "I don't know. I guess it's because I'm angry." That was his response. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but that's what it was. He doesn't even know how he did it.
Fuck power levels. Fuck Super Saiyans. And fuck you. Seriously, that clip of Tien is just so perfect for the series.
It really is. Yeah, absolutely. It is. Talking about Dragon Ball Bridge, have they? I haven't checked. Have they brought all their videos back yet, or are they still?
I think they're still fighting for it, but you can still find the videos on like their site.
Yeah.
So there's obviously they're still on the Hercule just got his ass kicked. So.
Yeah.
Go champ.
Yeah. So that's I've vented my spleen about DB Super. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, but the dub's been surprisingly good.
Okay, well, I'll have to go back and have a look at some of the episodes of the episodes that I haven't seen.
It's weird because for like Kai and all the redubs, they've been staying fairly close to kind of what the original intent was. For Super, they're getting much more creative in the translation, which is kind of fun in its own way.
Are they making Goku
It
less
sounds
retarded?
that way a little bit. At least, well, he's at least a bit more snarky. Like he kind of gets roped into a match against Hercule. So Hercule does like his punch, and Goku pretends to fly off really far because he's like,
I
forgot my tractor. Yeah, like they're doing stuff like that, which really helps the series a lot.
Okay, well, that's good. The other thing that I find just odd, and this is not necessarily a comment against Dragon Ball Super, well, Dragon Ball in general. If you're watching the dub of it, watching the sub rather, I should say, is that, and you would know this, but some people in the audience may not know, is that the voice of Goku is actually
an 83-year-old woman,
and it's not just a woman. I was gonna say it's not just a woman.
Well,
it's
because she's
really
been doing it since the early '80s when Dragon Ball first started.
Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But like when you actually like look her up on YouTube and watch her like screaming into the microphone and whatnot when Goku like powers up, it's impossible for me now to watch the dub and just not somehow picture an old woman in the background screaming.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I have a hard time with watching it subbed. Partially because I just grew up with the dub, so that's not how they sound to me. But it's also weird seeing pictures of like various movie premieres where she's there with Sean Schemmel. Sean Schemmel's just so much bigger than she is.
Fair enough. All right. Well, let's. I think that'll. You got anything else? Or are we done with Super?
No, not really. Considering.
Well, what are your thoughts? I've vented my spleen out. I've talked about my thoughts on how it's fucking dumb. Do you like it any more than me? Do you appreciate it on levels that perhaps I don't?
It's a very weird love-hate relationship with Super because there are episodes that are genuinely good, like the Gohan versus Krillin training thing, where they actually do have some idea what they're doing. That's why it's kind of frustrating when they immediately go into a two-parter with 17 that does not need to be a two-parter.
they finally do something right, then just go and piss it all away on something else. All right, fair enough. All right, well, that's gonna do it. I think, guys, we've been going for a long time.
Good first episode.
This is probably one of the long. Yeah, good first episode. This is probably the longest podcast I think we've probably ever done, actually. So if you guys enjoyed this, as I said, we'll be aiming to do it at least every 2 weeks. It may be a little bit longer than that, depending on what happens news-wise, because if there's nothing to talk about, then we don't really have much to discuss. We'll just be talking about what's happening in the world of pop culture and anime and games and all the things that you love. But if you do enjoy this, please go to the link below, check out Ryan's Patreon. Please just check him $1, check him $5. Just help the guy out. If you're fortunate in life enough to have a job and have a source of income, yeah, we've all been in a situation where we've been struggling a little bit, so help a guy out, and I'm sure in future he will bend over backwards for you, and I'm putting words in Ryan's mouth. But
depending if my back's up for
it. Come. That's right. Yeah, he'll come around. He'll officiate your wedding. Yeah, he's fine with that. He'll witness any legal documents that you need signed, stuff like that. It's good. It'll be fine. So that's it. Thank you guys very much. Kisses, hugs, belly rubs. We will see all of you in a couple of weeks. Well, actually, that's it. Catch you guys later.